Hey, what's going on, everybody? Friday morning, 10:45 a.m. on the West Coast. Stock market's up today. Um, Portfolio's looking pretty nice. Had some news on AMD that I've been kind of pondering all morning. Here's our portfolio as it stands right now. AMD had some news come out overnight that they are acquiring Xilinx. Uh, Xilinx is up big on the news. AMD is down. Um, I'm not my feelings on the deal are kind of complex. Um, I think overall, yeah, I think it's a good acquisition for them. Um, I hate the timing of it. I hate the price of it. I, if you were going to do this, why didn't you do it for $80? 6 months ago. Um, but it's neither here nor there. So now they're paying a big premium for the company, and what Xilinx does puts them in, it escalates the competition in data center with NVIDIA, in the data center, especially with, they make a different variation of the processing chip, not to go super in the weeds, but I like AMD when they are competing against Intel. I think they have a big advantage there right now with the current generation of tech. I don't like them competing in data center with Nvidia. They should have folded that and they should have gone more into consumer. Um, with the end of Moore's Law, and even with this current generation of AMD chips that are about to be released in a month, they still haven't broken 5 gigahertz. So an accelerated solution makes sense for them. But this is just, it's a battle that I'm less interested in fighting, on the AMD side. That's for sure. We're about break even with the position, um, in this account. I have I have shares in another account. I have some options in another account in AMD. I think I'm going to hold on to those. I think for this, I'm going to close this position out. We're going to build our micros, which have, I keep calling them micros, but our small caps. Let's bulk those up, and then I want to do, just some slight trim. So, first trade of the day, we're going to close our AMD position. We're just going to close all of it. Um, I also feel like we aren't going to, miss anything with this because it's an announced deal. It doesn't seem like it's a friendly takeover or a merger. It's a takeout. It's a strategic acquisition. Integrating that's going to be a lot more difficult, and they're just they're going into the wheelhouse of Nvidia that Nvidia is just too good at, and I'd rather own twice as much Nvidia as I would, owning half and half, is what we just had between Nvidia and AMD. I'd rather own double the Nvidia now, if that's what AMD is going to do. Which, when their new, generation of processor comes out, I'm rebuilding my desktop, and it's going to be on AMD for the first time in 15 years. So I think that they have a big, advantage in the CPU side, but the data center side, uh, remains to be seen. So we'll see. We'll let that story brew, without us. We don't need to be a part of every single story. So, um, I wasn't really excited to hear that news, obviously, which is why I've let that go. But I'm happy to be able to be in the position and to be able to close it with a slight winner and not be at a loss. So, um, we have 6K in cash. We're going to get that fully invested. Um, Watch list for the day. DraftKings just, it continues to get crushed with Corona. It's had a tough week. The Jets, New York Jets, just canceled some football stuff. So, yeah, it's been, those gambling stocks are just so dicey because it's all about if there's high profile cases of Corona or not. Um, Zillow Group, just on a heater. Um, I'd love to get a position going in here, but we want this to come down under $100. If we get another 5% off in Zillow, we're gonna jump in and we're gonna make some room and we're gonna buy that. What's winning in here today? Fastly just continues to be all over the place. Just these, huge gaps. But I mean, if you've owned it for the last 25%, you've made a killing. It's only taken you a couple days. Peloton got a call by Jason Calcanis. What's up, Jason? Hope you're listening. I know you're not, but you tweeted me today, so maybe we're homies. Slack stock sucks, though. Just, for the record, listen to my podcast. I'll explain to you. Taylor Morrison, Rampage. All of these look pretty healthy. A lot of our core positions look good. Hopping out of AMD makes me feel a little better already. Right off the top, DocuSign doesn't need to be our... I want DocuSign to be a B-level position, which will be around $4,000. So we're probably going to end up trimming some of that. I want to get a little bit more upside in there. I think there's some momentum in DocuSign. We're kind of just playing it by feel right now, trying to dodge some bullets. And just keep our chips aligned with, what's continuing to make money. Let's bulk up our smalls. Let's just, we're not going to go crazy here. We're just going to add, let's call it 250 to each one of these. Mental math on point this morning. So we'll just blast through. Now that I said that, watch how bad this math will be. Just to make sure we get filled on everything. In the last episode, we added all these, and if you want to hop back and go through why we did that, but we just wanted to spread out some money from some larger positions and get into some companies that have a lower market cap overall. This Celsius company makes essentially an energy drink, which I'm not really trying to be in the energy drink business. It's not super sexy to me, but their chart's been crazy, so we're going to ride along with some momentum. Alright, so we've added, essentially 50% to each of our small positions. We're just going to slowly keep building those up. Balance-wise, we've got $5K in cash. Don't really want to concentrate much more up at the top because I want to keep the top positions even, and I don't really want to buy any more Amazon at this level. And look at Square continuing to rock. Let's go. The stuff going on with all the tweets with the president and the stimulus and all that stuff, they're going to dump a bunch of money on the market. I don't care what your politics are. Like, that's just how we're going to solve problems for the next decade or two. So whenever there's a huge issue, they're going to stimulate the economy and print a ton of money and just bury the economy in it, so that even if the economy, the economy is never good or bad. It's an economy. It's the perception of the economy that changes. And as long as the perception is the economy is good, then the economy is good. If the economy stinks and the economy, if that's what people think, then it stinks. But in reality is that it never stinks or is great for everyone all at once. It's all cyclical. So it's all what perspective you're looking at it at. Seen a lot of competition in, you know, the chip space. Seems to be that, they're spending a lot of money to acquire a lot of companies, and just looking at the full semis. My favorite space in the stock market. I love the positioning of where they're at. I think Nvidia is still the best. Nvidia is not just the hardware. I mean, look at this chart. I mean, clearly breaking out over 180, 87 on this all-time high. I mean, it's beautiful. Nvidia has the hardware. They also have the huge moat of having Jensen Huang's leather jacket and all the engineers that they have over there, all the software they have on top of it. I mean, their vertical integration should be being studied in every business school that exists. I mean, Nvidia is just, watch me talk myself into buying more Nvidia stock, because this is just what I do. I try to not be too concentrated, but I mean, what they're doing and they're pursuing is just so inspiring, and the quality of the work that they do. Got to get these 3080s and 3090s out the door. They're kind of botching the release of their the demand for their new GPUs is so crazy that they struggle to distribute them in a way that people don't get pissed off, because everybody wants to get their hands on them. So and they're like releasing Jordans. They get bought up by bots and resold, and then people are mad about that. So it happens. We're just going to add a couple shares. And that's how you sell yourself stock. Yeah, a little bit of Tesla too. I think this Tesla quarter that's coming is going to be huge. They have I also feel like putting money in Tesla and in Nvidia and Amazon keeps it. It's just like we can always use that as a source of funds if we need to liquidate some and rotate into another position. So I love to keep Tesla, Nvidia, and Amazon and Square to a lesser degree, but Square has been just such a monster. But on that Tesla quarter, it's the earliest they've released Q4 earnings in at least 5 years. Elon has a huge compensation bonus coming up with this next delivery. He teased 500,000 deliveries for this year. We're going to see the full OPEX picture in Tesla here really quickly. I think that this quarter is going to be a monster. So I have Tesla in this account. I also have it with options in another account. Here's Beast Mode Square, where in this calendar year, you could have bought this stock for less than $40. I mean, has there ever been an easier time to buy? So I've tripled the value of, before starting this account, I've been writing Square this entire year, and the total value of all of my retirement accounts has more than tripled in 2020. And a big part of that run was why I started doing the money school to begin with, was because people just kept asking me the same questions over and over and over again. But this has been a stock that, if you've been a part of, I mean, it's changed my life personally. Square and Tesla have been what I've been riding this whole year, and that's why I've tripled the value of all of my accounts, and then has allowed to have this kind of like side account where we can do this project. So I'm just owning individual stocks can be a life-changing endeavor. And if you're making, for me, I'm 33 years old. For me to triple the value of my entire retirement savings, and it wasn't like a starting account, it was a I've been saving and investing my whole life. To triple that in 1 year, I mean, I'll likely never do that again in another year. I hope I do, but I mean, good grief, that's just like there was just so much wealth created by the liquidity they introduced, and buying stocks has been the right move, and the winners to me have been pretty easy to pick. I mean, Square has been a really easy one to pick. And I also believe that you, to a certain extent, I mean, you have your products and what you're building, but what you really want is vision. And having a leader that understands vision and can attract, I mean, Tesla, NVIDIA, Amazon, Square, and Adobe to another extent, those CEOs command just the very best human talent that exists. And if you want to push engineering to the limit and you consider yourself brilliant, like you want to prove it to Elon. You want to work for SpaceX. You want to work for Tesla. You want to work for Neuralink. You want to work on those big projects. Like you want to work at NVIDIA for Jensen. You want to, if you're in finance or AI, I mean, Amazon and Square and these companies, like if you want to push the limits, you're going to do it with these companies. And that's where the humans are drawn to, or the visionary leaders. So you bet the jockey, not the horse. The jockey knows what horse to ride. So as long as Elon and Jensen and Jeff and Jack are running these companies, and Shantanu at Adobe, I mean, Shantanu's a Indian American CEO who has, Adobe has just an incredible, there's a ton of really talented Indian American computer science minds, and India really prizes computer science as culturally very important, and it's such a huge company that the talent that comes out in that space from India is just world class. And it's not a it's just not a surprise or a coincidence that Microsoft is run by an Indian American, Google is run by an Indian American, Adobe is run by an Indian American. And if you look at their engineering staff, I mean, they have culturally diverse workforces that are truly global and attract the best talent from ultimate pressure cooker situations in terms of educational excellence. So you're talking about brain trust of like where the smartest human beings are, and not just the American ones, the ones that are born all over the world that are just doing the highest quality work. They're finding a way to run these companies or to work for these people that are running these companies. And that's why if you look at the talent that exists within an Adobe, I mean, go ahead and recreate some of the stuff that they do, the brain trust that they have there, and the people that are working on those products and explaining them and creating them. I mean, that's the moat. That's the difference between NVIDIA and AMD, in my opinion, is the human moat and the vision. Jensen's vision is just further along than AMD, and he has been. And this morning, that acquisition from AMD just reminded me that they are still that far behind in the vision. So that's why we let that go. Checking on our balances, we got about $2,000 in cash. Let's hop into our watch list. Let's look at our sectors real quick. Silver and gold are booming just because this is a proxy trade for, is the government going to dump money on the market? Silver and gold. If silver and gold, the gold miners, if those are up, that's means the dollar is down. The dollar is down today. But whenever there's stimulus in the trillions of dollars, I mean, the fiscally conservative Tea Party Republicans have an offer out at 1.8 trillion. And the apparently like super socialist, whatever we call the left now, is at the mid 2 trillions. What's the difference? Like, the idea that there's a difference between these political parties is just, I mean, mind-boggling to me. Social issues, there are some differences. When it comes to the money in the stock market, neither one of these political parties, neither one of these presidents is going to win is going to let the economy go to shit. Like, what do you think they're going to do? Every time there's an issue, they're going to print money and make it seem like it's better than it is, whether it's good or not. So, silver, gold miners, that's why that continues to be a good trade. I don't like it because I just think that at a certain point, we're going to grow through needing the stimulus as much, and that trade has been really crowded. But again, gold and silver had reset pretty heavily over the last few weeks. So maybe that trade is still intact. Let's just hop in and look at the chart on GLD really quick. It's been booming. You can see this sell-off here over this last little stretch. Once it got to $2,000 an ounce, that was the previous high. We've had this sell-off. It needs to get back above this 50, and that's where it's at. It's almost at. It's not even there right now. So this blue line, if it gets above that and can break out, maybe we can get highs in gold. Silver is going to follow the leader on that. I think we're just seeing a pop on this today because there was headlines that they're going to print a bunch of cash. If they come out and say, hey, this stimulus is off, or we're going to go back to 1.6, or we're going to wait until the election, we're going to see gold sell off again. So I just don't want the portfolio to be subject to that. So just keeping an eye on that. I know there's a lot of people that trade that and are always interested in what's going on there. I am much more convinced in the durability of the high-tech mega growth chip sector. And I think that's backwards to a lot of people, but I think the safety is in real growth, things that are actually going to change the way that humans live their lives. Because then on a relative basis, they will be the stronger pieces of the economy, and you're going to see people pile into the stocks, just like we've seen happen with Apple for the last decade. Utilities, energy. Do you guys want to own any of this bullshit? I don't. Pass. I mean, I'm off. I want technology, and I want, some consumer discretionary. Domino's getting crushed again today. Every time we dabble and go out of that, we actually had a pretty decent sell on that and got lucky with the fact that Domino's fell off a cliff right after we bought it and got out. Now underneath that 50-day, if this drops to the 200-day, we're going to be backing the truck up because I still think that their technology story is really impressive. It's now in a technical, it's in the vortex, it's in the spin cycle now. So this is going to get out of, now that the technicals have been compromised, we're not going to evaluate this stock on a fundamental basis until technically it finds some footing. So there's just a lot of things to consider when you own stocks, and one of them is that, expectations are a major part of it. And if expectations or assumptions change, then those go out the window, and now we start looking for technical levels. And this is a stock that, technically speaking, has had a huge run, and the expectations continue to rise as you, if the higher expectations, the more you need to deliver, and the more your volatility will swing around if you miss them. So this is one to keep an eye on because it's had a pretty huge sell-off. I know stochastic, it's way down there, but it's not one that I want to jump in on and be a part of. Picked up some NVIDIA on a dip. Zilla's not quite at enough of a dip yet. I don't really want to open any new positions, but I don't want to leave this 2K in cash kind of just floating in the wind here. So I think what we're going to do is probably bury that in we'll just split it in half. And it just always is a constant test of your confidence, of how much do you, where's your conviction at? My conviction just remains at the top. And I try to push myself into wanting to participate in a little bit more broadly, but the reality is that a lot of these stocks just don't have the same juice. They don't have the same runway. They don't have the same, even within the ones in the money school portfolio. S&P 500 is 500 stocks. Doesn't even include Tesla. NASDAQ 100. There's like 20 stocks in the NASDAQ 100 that are worth owning, which is why I like owning individual stocks to begin with. There's just such a huge difference between the haves and the have-nots. Bounce-wise, I don't know if that's... All right. So we've hid some money in NVIDIA and Tesla. We'll probably rotate that back out when we're ready to open another position. I'm waiting for another new position to jump off the map at me. I have a lot of companies that I would like to own, but I don't have to own. Like Amazon, I would rather own Amazon than Target, but Target is a company I would like to own. But I don't need to own both, so I'm going to own Amazon. But Target is a company that is rocking. And then the other one that might come back into the portfolio is Netflix. So we're going to let this go. We're going to let this kind of marinate, and then always having a kind of a game plan for where we want to be tomorrow, or not tomorrow, on Monday. Once we get through the weekend, we've kind of moved our money towards the top of this portfolio. On Monday, if everything looks great, we will trim a little bit at the top, and we'll probably open a Netflix position. We'll see what's happening on that. The other one that's kind of the same is Square and PayPal. I love them both. I don't need to own them both, so I'll own Square. But PayPal is another one that, I mean, you can own both and you can own one or the other. I think they're both great. I just like the leadership at Square a lot more. But again, that's good for now. There's a lot of opportunity out there, and there's a lot of different, there's a lot of quality opportunities to invest some cash. I think the value of your dollars is going down, and you need to have them in companies that are going to deliver and grow those future dollars that you're going to get back later on down the road. So there's at least a half dozen companies in this portfolio alone that I think can add value to, almost every single human being's life by having it in their portfolio. So hope everybody has a good rest of their day, good Friday, and a good weekend. Podcast tomorrow. I'll be back on Monday.